If you like this episode, please subscribe, share with others, rate and review so we can continue to bring you great programming.
This is The Thing About Cars, a podcast for car enthusiasts and the people who love them.
Hello and welcome to The Thing About Cars. I'm Mickey Desai. Around the table we've got almost a full crew. Dave, Pauly, how are you, sir?
I am on a quest for modesty today.
Quest for modesty. It's like an album cover or something. Ben, how are you?
Oh, moderately neato. How about you?
I'm good. I'm good. Tim, how are you?
I'm doing great and requesting modesty.
Requesting.
Fine, I'll put my pants back on.
Modesty's kind of overrated, don't you think? No?
Pants are overrated.
Yeah. Misty, how are you, Misty?
I'm holy.
You're holy.
I'm holy.
She had some upgrades recently.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's in titanium upgrades too.
Really?
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
What happens if you hold a 9-volt battery to it?
I don't know. Why don't you get the upgrade and let's test that out?
So, first on our agenda today, I believe, the mysterious box can be addressed. Misty, I take it you got it.
Yeah, I got the box, and I came downstairs because it came during the day when I was upstairs working in the home office. I came down and it was sitting in my chair here in front of my personal laptop, and I was like, and so then I open it, and this is one of the first things that I pull out, which is going to go on my laptop. So it is a sticker. It's a Waffle House sticker. It says it's not a Waffle House, it's a Waffle Home.
Yes.
So this is definitely going on the MSI, and then I have to go in the office tomorrow because I have new people.
Oh,
so
good.
I'm probably actually going to wear this, and this is big enough that I can layer. So it's like
Good.
it's like a kind of like a tent.
For those of you not able to see, Misty is modeling the finest in Thing About Cars t-shirt.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, although I'm sitting here, I'm going, well, it's just the 17th tomorrow. Do I save this for the following week? Because it's like super orange, and like the 27th is King's Day.
Ah.
And Willem, which is the king.
Yes.
Let's be respectful here. He goes to a different city every year, and this year he's chosen Rotterdam, which is where my office is. And I'm like, oh yeah, guess who's not going to be in the office at all next week? Just cannot.
Right.
No.
So you got the nice official Thing About Cars t-shirt.
Yes. So now I can, pimp our ride, so to speak.
Nice.
What else was in the box? Yes.
And then this was actually a twofer. I just have to remember which nurse at which hospital I wanted to give one to.
Right.
So, but this is actually one for me too. And it is the Waffle House shirt. And I'm just sitting here going, the only question I have is, do either of these shirts actually go with my pink Tutti Frutti Doc Martens?
Why are you even asking this?
Well, because I don't wear no, seriously, I don't know. I think this was after we did the recording last week. Or did I tell you about the incredible deal that I got on Doc Martens?
Yes, you did.
Yeah. So but they're here, and they are so. They are so pink.
Don't tell my wife
pink.
because she'll want some.
Well, if I can ever get another deal like that again, and you have to give me your wife's shoe size, and then there will be a box. So
Okay.
Fortunately, Mickey's wife would never listen to the show.
Exactly right. It's so true. Unless you're riding on a road trip or something.
Yeah. So that's and I think the only disappointment that I've had this week is there was the Amsterdam car show the weekend of my birthday, and my husband just completely missed the hint, which was me sending him the link about 5 times. This would be really cool. So I did not get to go, and I'm kind of sad because they did have some really nice cars that I wanted to see.
Yeah,
But actually, I think I'll just hang out and look for the Paris one, and then just take the train to Paris, and just go for a day trip to Paris as one does.
I like it.
In a Waffle House shirt and
yeah.
And
I'm kind of torn because if I go to the Paris car show, do I wear the Waffle House shirt or do I wear the Thing About Cars?
Oh,
You know, you are such a talented seamstress. Cut them in half and sew them together.
Do what? Yeah, wear one on the front, one on the back.
On the back, yeah. The thing
Uh,
about cars, now sponsored by Waffle House.
I wish.
Homes.
Waffle Homes.
Waffle Homes, yeah. What if we
You
could
work in housing, right? That's
Yeah. See, but the thing is, though, is our corporate colors are more orange because we're a Dutch company.
yeah.
right.
So do you
Right.
see the struggle here? So yeah,
Never.
yeah, I know,
Well,
it's
the struggle is not real.
Happy late birthday, Misty. I know those T-shirts were overdue in getting to you, but I'm glad you like them. And yes,
I'm happy I have new T-shirts. So, because I'm a huge T-shirts and jeans person, and
Yeah.
I like to layer them.
heck yeah.
It's kind of weird so many times, when like my manager who is he's Australian, even though he holds a Belgian passport, and we come into the office and we're both wearing like the T-shirt layered over the long sleeve Henley, and I'm like, oh, we're twinning again, and he's just like, okay, why are you so weird? I'm like, you knew this when you hired me, so don't even. And I've been here over a year now, so just stop pretending like you're surprised.
Are they surprised when you walk in the door? They're like, "Oh, you're still with us."
No, they're like, they're like, oh God. Although I have two people on my team whose birthday is on Wednesday, so I'm like, okay, I'm bringing in cupcakes, and one of them he's a delightful young Spanish gentleman, and I said, Jordy, I'm bringing you a cake for your birthday, and he's so dramatic. He's like, oh, Misty, no, my diet, and I'm like, dude, calories don't count on your birthday, man.
It's true.
Right.
You should
Free
have an
calories.
exemption for your birthday. All right, Misty,
Yeah.
would you call yourself a Formula One fangirl?
Yeah, I think I would literally lose the ability to speak, kind of like you did with Ricky Rackman.
Yeah.
If we were to, well, probably not with Toto Wolff because I'm sure I have things to say to him.
And the reason I ask is Ben had posted this in our behind the scenes TTAC group. It was an article in a publication called The Cut, and it's called the fangirlification of Formula One, and it's an interesting essay. If you haven't read it, I recommend it. It's but Ben,
Yeah.
Ben, you read through it, I imagine. Did you have any comments about the fangirlification of Formula One?
Well, it's been more than a month since I've read it, so I've kind of forgotten most of it, but it'd be good to discuss if we'd all read.
Well, it says some interesting things here, which I thought was which I'll pull out of this highlight, which is Formula One is often viewed as an elitist sport in which only 2 women and 1 black man have raced in Grand Prix, despite the fact that there have been more than 900 drivers across its 7-decade history. And entities behind the sport are not always the most accepting of new enthusiasts either. So the question remains, why is Formula One so popular, especially amongst a young fandom? Because the fandom is huge. It's, according to this, it's twice as large as the NFL, but the NFL brings in 8 times more revenue annually. So, in other words, Americans love sport and spend their money to prove it. Liberty Media I'm reading this obviously, Liberty Media made changes to appeal to viewers in the US. They axed the sexist tradition of grid girls. What's a grid girl?
There's
Or the brawly dollies, someone to stand by each car with an umbrella over the driver so they don't get too warm. So now
they still have that in MotoGP.
Okay.
So, it's and in some of the online chats that I'm in, I mean, some of the stuff gets really misogynistic. So, I was not at all, sad to see the grid girls go. I mean, I think if that's the only place that people see us, and I'm talking as, women, that's the only place that, some of the fan base see us as belonging on the grid, that's wrong. I mean, of course, because women can drive just as good as men.
Right. And you could always replace the brawly dolly with an umbrella fella.
Yeah. See, if
I've
it were
always
equal
said I am
opportunity.
very interested.
Nowadays interested.
An umbrella fella?
I'm like, give everybody something, I mean, I don't have any problem because I know that on some of those tracks it gets really, really warm.
We could call them
or either it's
sorry, Missy, go ahead.
It can get really, really warm and the sun's just, bleh, on you, or it's just either pissing down rain.
We could call it a brawly brawler. Brawly brawler, yeah.
Yeah.
You know. Anyway,
Shut up, Mo.
right. So the fangirlification, I mean, fangirl to me has almost a derogatory meaning, but not quite. And I guess it depends on who the recipient of the term is. But but it, but Formula One is way more widely acceptable, and that one statistic just baffles me. It's twice as large as, where did it go? I had it here a second ago.
It's twice as large as the NFL, and
But
I
only
think that's
pulls
because
in,
maybe
yeah. Go ahead.
I think maybe it's because it's, uh, I want to say that, like me personally, I mean, I'm not into fighting sports, and I think that American football and football also have the reputation of like the hooligan type fans, the ones that turn over police cars and set them on fire. Oh no, wait, that's just like Wednesday in Paris. Sorry, hold on. I was confused. Or the tearing down the goalposts, or I think, but I think in a lot of sports, just across the board, regardless of whether it's a motorsport or a sport, a ball sport.
Sticking ball sport, yeah.
Yeah, there's just a lot of toxic masculinity. But I think with some of the newer crop of drivers in F1, you're seeing a lot less of that. You're seeing a lot less of James Hunt, who was in his own way very toxic. And it's more, yeah, I think in that area, Niki Lauda was, definitely kind of a trailblazer. He was very competitive, but he wasn't, this testosterone fueled, douche canoe.
Right. He was a very, very thinking man's driver, as
Yeah.
opposed to James Hunt, who was more of a playboy.
Yeah,
Well,
definitely.
And the idea that Formula One is elitist is nothing new.
Mhm.
That, probably, I was remembering an article, I just found it like 7, 8 months ago. Motorsports Week did an article on how F1 wants American companies and American sponsorship, but not particularly American drivers, American fans. And that doesn't strike me as a new one. I mean, in all the times that I've been ancillary to F1, that kind of a elitist mindset coupled with toxic masculinity to a certain degree has characterized it since I've been aware of it.
Right. Well, I mean, you have to think of racing going back as far as just a masculine sport. They talk about the days, well, let's say the early 60s and prior, when they say the tires were skinny and drivers were fat, because you had to be a bullish kind of person to be able to muscle cars through the turns. And even to this day, it is still a physically demanding sport. But at the same time, it is one that women can compete on the same level as men in identical equipment. And whether Formula One wants US, they definitely want US fans, because fans equals revenue, and it is a business just like any other professional sport is. But in fact, we do have an American driver in the field this year, Logan Sargent, who's driving for the Williams team.
Which might be a curse within itself.
Right.
That's funny though. Not to
Yeah.
interrupt you, Tim, but I was kind of into F1 back in the 80s, early to mid 80s. And in hindsight, I kind of romanticize the era from then back to about 1970. And when I was into it back then as a teenage kid, I think one of the appeals to me was that it wasn't very American. I was kind of sick of my own culture, even though I'd never been anywhere else in the world. And I liked the escapism to me that it provided,
Right. Yeah. The culture is very different from, the stereotypical Bubba-ness of NASCAR.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
if you look at any professional level of racing, like, points the finger and goes, oh, look at those rich boys driving their big fancy cars. And that same thing still applies to NASCAR. If you don't become a professional NASCAR driver without having some kind of family financial stake in the game early in your career, when the paychecks are not nearly enough to cover what the expenses are of doing the sport.
Yeah, but there's
Right.
still that stigma, and I think maybe it comes, out more in European, even if they don't quite realize why they're kind of stigmatizing the NASCAR, because the whole stock car racing started from bootlegging,
Yes,
which
that's
was
right.
a very low,
Yeah.
it's like low class, even though, as a upper class person, your bootlegger might be, your best friend, so to speak, but there
Mhm.
was still that social divide, and the Formula One, I mean, these were the playboys. These were the, like the third sons of the aristocracy that didn't have anything to do, rather than just, uh, drive really fast. It's like when I was in high school, because you do still see that in the United States to a point. When I was in high school, I went to high school with like Phil Necro's son. And Phil Necro, an amazingly nice guy. His son was a complete and utter jerk. Like he knew he was hot stuff and he was, American royalty and always came in with these fast cars, and they would like crash it and daddy would just buy him a new one.
I know the kind. I know
So
the type.
Yes. No.
yes, we know
So,
the
I
type,
mean,
so
I guess the thing I wanted to get
yeah.
at overall with this is that, what is it that leaves F1 being open to inclusivity where other sports apparently don't welcome inclusivity, right? Because even if F1 is elitist, um, everybody can get into it, and we know men and women alike. We know people of all stripe and color who like to watch racing. Um, so how does F1 encourage inclusivity where, say, the NFL doesn't?
Because it's actually global.
Right. That's
I mean, you have races in Australia, you have races in Asia, you have races in the Middle East, you have races in Europe, you have races in North America, you have races in South America,
So
you even have races on the eighth continent, the United Kingdom. Um,
Yeah, to quote John Cleese, the whole difference between the United States and the rest of the world is the rest of the world, when they have a world championship, they invite other countries to compete.
yes.
Yeah.
you know,
well,
and
which raises the next question, though. I mean, if we go back to that other statistic where the NFL is U.S. only, but they make 8 times the amount of money that an international sport like racing does, is the NFL simply better at selling sponsorships, or is Formula One
Well,
simply poor at? Yeah.
you have to look at at how many events there are per year. I mean, in U.S. football, you have what? How many games going every Sunday for 6 months out of the
yeah,
year?
Yeah.
And in Formula One, you have one event going 23 times per
yeah,
year. So the number of butts in the stands, you can have over 100,000 people at a lot of these circuits. I know the Circuit of the Americas, which sells out very frequently in Austin, Texas for the U.S. Grand Prix. I think they seat around 120,000
Mm.
people, and there's other tracks that seat in that same
Yep.
uh,
So
same
maybe
category.
right. So maybe the comparison is a bad one. All right. Like maybe the analysis of using the NFL as some sort of benchmark is simply
yeah,
not a good choice.
There might also be some differences in how it's peripherally monetized to, like, all the different tie-ins that NFL does. I mean, the United States, corporatism is our culture.
Mhm.
Money is our culture here in the States. We've got, replica jerseys, but last time I watched any kind of, auto racing, nobody was wearing a replica helmet in the stands.
no,
Oh, I've
but
seen those.
no,
But
but I
it
mean,
is kind of hard to watch a race while wearing the helmet and get.
Yeah, under the
yeah,
hot sun. I'm being a little facetious, of course, but you know what I mean. There's not
I
as
mean, you
much
see
of the.
plenty of people. You watch all the Dutch fans, and if they're not wearing orange, then they're wearing, Red Bull blue. And of
Yeah.
course, you go to the Italian Grand Prix, and you watch the stands full of people in red shirts.
Yeah.
You can definitely tell who's pulling for which driver. It's a
Yeah,
oh
but I
Missy
don't
is
think they
showing us.
monetize it the same way we do here.
yeah.
Oh, I mean, I can go to McLaren and I can buy, a whole bunch of, what's his face, Lando Norris stuff, or, I can get more replica cars. I mean, I even have from the F1 shop itself, I have my Kimmy shirt, which has a red flag equals ice cream, which I mean, you just have to, Tim's like, yeah, I know what that means, and
Yeah.
I also have my Kimmy shirt that says, leave me alone, I know what to do. Um, and
Mhm.
then I have my Max Verstappen 2021, world champion shirt. And then like one of the local supermarkets in the Netherlands is called the Jumbo, Jumbo. They're a huge sponsor. I think Max is like actually their only corporate sponsorship that they're doing now. They've pulled out everything else but Max, and I can, I get points for grocery shopping, and I can save up to get discounts on the hats and the Red Bull stuff. So it's there. But
Definitely.
on the other hand, how many players do you have for each NFL team? How many NFL teams do you have? We only have 20 drivers.
Right. Yeah. So
So there's a whole lot, there's a whole lot less footprint, because I'm just thinking back in the heyday when I was a huge Steelers fan, like I bought my son a Palomalu jersey, and then you had Jerome Bettis, you had I can't even remember. I tell you, you just you turn 50 and your brain just goes, yeah, okay, we're done.
Can you hear me, Misty?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. So, well, I mean, that's Tim's point, right? It's like there's so much more NFL action than there is Formula One action.
Yeah.
But
and then, plus, I mean, you've got all these players, you've got significantly more teams, I mean, we only have 10 teams in the story, so there's only so much fan merchandise. I mean, although, I could probably do like my whole bedroom in like Red Bull if I wanted to. I don't because I'm actually a McLaren girl. But I'm not quite sure papaya looks that good with my skin tone. So
Dave is like, what?
Yeah, the team color for McLaren, because they were founded by a man from New Zealand, is papaya orange.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
We're back.
Which is not the same as Dutch orange, right, Misty?
Which is and is also not the same as my company's orange.
Oh, okay.
So I'm just can I just live in a pumpkin now?
Yes. All right. So let's switch gears here and move to a different article that Ben had shared with us. And Ben, I don't know if you remember this one, the one where the U.S. wants to close an SUV loophole that's supersized cars.
Oh yeah, I remember it because I just read it this morning.
Yep. You want to guide us through this one or tell us your reactions to this article?
Well, okay. The gist of it is that we've had a loophole in fuel economy standards and such for decades in the United States, where anything that could be basically categorized as a truck was not subject to the same environmental and fuel efficiency standards, and the automakers have really learned how to game this, especially since the fuel economy standards apply to the fleet as a whole of whatever any company makes. So, this has led to the fact that everybody wants to drive a gigantic honking SUV. This has basically been foisted upon us by gaming the system on the part of the manufacturers. And they're looking to close this now. It's in debate. It's been, I guess, bills have been brought up in Congress or something. But my take on it is a little bit cynical. Much as I'd like to see some things happen that reduce our vehicle size and increase their efficiency and such, likelihood of something that actually does so, making it through Congress and being signed into law, I'm not holding my breath.
Yeah, I'm not either. But I didn't know that there was a set of regulations that opened the door towards making cars bigger. And
yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, I think it's for any vehicle that's over 4,000 pounds, is it?
Okay.
Yeah, which is super. That's like almost every car today.
Yeah,
that's true.
Except for like mine.
The original intention was, so that it came out of the 70s when, there was a drive to be more efficient. But then the thing was, well, wait a minute, there are still some people who need something big and powerful: farmers, construction workers, people who are doing real work, not your average Joe Blow who says, oh, yeah, I need a pickup because I got to tow my boat that he tows maybe 3 times a year and just drives to the office the rest of the time. Yeah. And I recall back in the 80s, there were the 1980s was the peak fuel efficiency regulatory period in the United States, believe it or not, up to a point. We actually had something like a 27 mile per gallon requirement until that got lobbied out of existence.
Right. And actually this week, didn't we just have a new proposal go through the EPA wanting to reduce vehicle emissions over the next, I believe it's 7 years, to basically cut everything in half by 2030.
Yeah, I heard something similar like that too. Yep.
I don't know if that's going to make it to the light of day or not either, but I got my fingers crossed.
Yes,
Right.
but if it did in its current form, it would basically force everything to go electric. But by 2030.
I think pretty much here everything is supposed to be electric by 2030 already in the EU.
Right.
Yeah.
And we still.
I think there have been a couple U.S. manufacturers that have said that they're going to be all electric. I think General Motors said that.
There are a lot of people who are already phasing out internal combustion engines.
I think Lotus has already done that.
Yeah.
Go Lotus.
Well, sort of. They're making a car now, the Emira, that is going to be the last Lotus to have a combustion engine.
Yep. So that's already on the roadmap.
So what are we going to do? What are we going to tell people who are like me, who just likes internal combustion engines?
Well, nobody's going to take away the one you've already got.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But it's going to do something for the used car market. As we spoke to, our guests in one of our episodes that just came out, where they were talking about the market for the sub $5,000 car.
Yep.
Is always the same market. There's always people who are looking for that niche and just can find me the best car you can for under $5,000.
Yeah.
Right.
It'll be the same thing. I want to have an internal combustion car, and that's going to be driving the price point of those used vehicles.
Yeah.
And
meanwhile,
and for me, it's not about having the internal combustion engine. I just don't want an automatic.
Yeah.
That's me.
Yeah.
Well, there's not that much need for as complicated a transmission with an electric either.
There's not.
That said, even if the ideal electric car has a couple of ratios, manually shifting them isn't necessarily the way to go either.
Right.
I like, I like having to use both of my feet and my hands. That's what she said.
So get a drum set.
Yeah, get a drum set.
It's a lot more drama than driving a manual transmission.
I don't want my neighbors to hate me that much, but I mean, to me, and I know you've heard me rant and rave about this. With the more manual things, literally the only things that I want in my car that are, bells and whistles are comfort items. I want my behind warm. It is not a small piece of real estate, okay, people?
Right.
Well, it depends on who you ask.
I think there's nobody you could ask that would say my behind is a small piece of real estate. Facts are facts. I'm not putting myself down. I'm not body shaming. I'm just stating I got some junk in the trunk. All right. But for me, I don't like these point and drive cars. And I think that, with the, as much as the standard transmission motion and workflow, so to say, is ingrained in my head, it still forces people to pay more attention to what the hell they're doing. I honestly think that people get too complacent with an automatic car, and they're just like, all I have to do is, step on the gas or step on the brake, and and I think that contributes to some of the crap that I work on my Dutch when I'm driving it.
I don't know. Back in the era when manuals were very, very common, there was still a lot of idiocy behind the wheel. There was still a lot of people trying to, shift and eat a burger at the same time. Crap like that.
What's wrong with that?
It was.
I've seen people.
That is a fine art.
I have an entire turkey in the front of this car,
and all the trimmings.
And all the trimmings, and by God, I'm going to eat it.
Right.
Although
well, what if we tried to repurpose what the left foot has to do now? We brought up how the touch screen that's so becoming so prevalent for all your selection of climate control and other accessories in the car. What if we came up with a little mouse ball on the floorboard for your left foot to do? That way you can keep both hands on the wheel still while you're trying.
Accesses the right click menu.
Exactly.
There
you go.
And just to keep the what you call the nostalgia types happy, put the high beam switch in that function too.
Put the high beam switch down there,
just like the old days.
See, now that would make me happy,
right.
Or but I think if you were to try to move the touchscreen functions, which like in the Mazda, if your car goes above a certain speed, the touch screen is disabled anyway, and you have to use your buttons.
Right.
I'm so happy we're back to the Mazda 6 because at least I can understand the cockpit.
But
I hate that BMW still.
You hate the BMW still?
Well, to To tie in,
Yeah.
to jump back a little bit and tie in the vehicle size thing with the electric thing. Another interesting thing I've been seeing is that there are some monster EVs coming on the market now, like that Hummer, for instance, and which, according to one analysis, because it is so extremely big and heavy, despite the fact that it runs electric, it's still less green than an equivalent internal combustion vehicle. Just the sheer amount of resources required to build it and run it.
Well, you have that too, and then plus, isn't it going to be still slightly heavier than internal combustion Hummer, which
More
is
than
going to be
slightly.
more tire dust?
More than slightly.
I was being
Yeah.
generous. I was being diplomatic.
Well,
That's-
there's also
Please,
some research that suggests that even EVs in general, never mind the manufacturing process, but just taken as a standalone car, EVs generate as much particulate matter or more particulate matter
Mhm.
as their internal combustion counterparts because of the weight of the battery. They actually wear out tires and stuff like that faster. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought about that, and I was wondering, shouldn't we see on, like, let's say, big sweeping turns on interstates, where you would expect, a lot of vehicle traffic, therefore, and plus they're turning, so they're shedding more rubber particles at that point. Shouldn't we see like big drifts of black tire particulates on the side of the road at that point? And
it
the only reason why I
disperses
ask
so
this is,
well.
where does all this black rubber dust go?
Oh, it's
on the
everywhere in
car
nature.
behind you.
Yeah, it's out there. It's in the soil. It's in the rivers. It's everywhere. It's out there. You don't see it, but it disperses pretty well. But that doesn't mean it ceases to exist.
Right. Yeah.
How there's also some safety things. Some of those larger EVs are so heavy that they're doing a lot of damage when they hit things. Pedestrians, cyclists, all that.
Yeah.
The casualty rate of pedestrians in traffic in the United States has been skyrocketing over the past decade.
Although
Yeah.
I'm not sure
Not
that's
just because of big EVs, but just
Yeah.
vehicles in general.
Yeah, just
Yeah.
because everybody has to have an SUV, everybody has to have a multi MVP or
what were you saying, Dave?
whatever.
Well, see, it's also, I agree with your point, Ben, but I don't know that's a function of just the vehicle size as much as it is we've got a massive distracted driving problem.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure.
Yeah.
And more distracted pedestrians too.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
All
Well,
right.
they've actually started enforcing laws here in the Netherlands about using your mobile when you're on your bike,
Oh,
bicycle.
Yeah.
Like you can't, if they will give you a ticket if they catch you using your mobile while you're
that's
tootling
crazy.
along the bike path.
Very
I don't know
good.
why you.
No,
yeah.
it's not crazy. It's not crazy
No,
because
No, the ticket part is good. I can't imagine trying to use a phone or a mobile device when I'm on a bicycle. That's
I've
crazy.
seen people do it on motorcycles.
Oh,
Yeah, well, I think it was like the first 2 or 3 weeks I was here in the Netherlands, was taking my son to school, and this mom on her what they call a oma fiets, or grandma bicycle,
Yeah.
or a mom's bicycle. She had one kid on a little seat in the front. She had another kid on a seat in the back. She had a trailer attached with the grocery shopping, and then she was walking the dog.
A little multitasking. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's nuts.
and then they have what they call the cargo bikes or the Bakfietsen. I've seen people literally move like living room furniture, like love seats, two-seaters, on a bike. Who needs a U-Haul? You have a bike, you're good. So I mean, it is a way of life. There are more bikes in the Netherlands than there are people.
Yeah. All right.
By
Yeah.
quite a bit.
All right. Last article because we're running out of time here. Last thing we're going to talk about today is another thing that Ben has posted.
Always me, isn't it?
It's always you. It's
You're
fantastic.
a troublemaker.
It's all about Ben.
Hashtag blame Ben.
So this is an article in Ars Technica that I love this publication, but there's an article here that Ben has posted for us saying that there's a new form of keyless car theft that works under 2 minutes. Do you remember this, Ben?
Yes, I do.
How can you summarize it for us?
Yeah, well, it requires a little background on electrical systems.
Okay.
So traditionally, a vehicle's electrical system has just been a big pile of DC circuits.
Right.
Simple on-off switching, fuses, things like that. Well, a lot of newer vehicles have what's called a controller area network system, or CAN bus for short. I've known about this for years because the BMW motorcycles that I ride have been using this since the early 2000s. But what the CAN bus system basically does, it eliminates a lot of the switches and fuses and things, or simplifies a lot of it. Like instead of fuses, it will use a solid state logic system to turn off a circuit that's overloading. It eliminates, or it reduces the amount of wiring in a vehicle by using things like ground side solid state switching and such. It also means that it makes it simple for multiple components to kind of talk to the ECU, so that you've got a more integrated system that knows more about what it's doing. So basically, you got a lot of parts in the car that are now like little pieces of the total brain, if you will.
Right.
And what a lot of thieves have figured out how to do, and of course, we all know that in recent years, car thieves have done all kinds of interesting, radio frequency tricks with key fobs, pulling up in front of your house and scanning for fobs and things like that, and all kinds of craziness. They don't even need the key now, because what a lot of them have figured out how to do is bust a headlight out of the car, tap into that CAN bus electrical system, and take over.
So wait a minute. You're saying that I can interface with a car via any exposed wiring harness that talks to the ECM, that talks to the CAN bus rather, and I could hack my way in?
That's the gist of it, yeah.
That just gives a whole new meaning to the term hot wiring.
Yes, really.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I'm kind of floored.
Yeah, it's like from now on, you have to have a password to start up your car.
You just do it. Well, just like my work computer, I have a HP EliteBook, and it has a fingerprint scanner, and I'm just like,
biometrics in cars is coming. It's probably
I don't have a problem with that, because I don't know about y'all, but I mean, how many times in your misspent youth did they're like, I really need to go
But Misty,
to
we're
the store.
talking to a group of people who will steal cars for any number of reasons, right? And like the links that you have to go through to get a car in motion may be getting easier, but the fact that someone would really want to tap open a headlight to get to a wiring harness to start and steal a car.
They literally did the scanning key fob thing when they stole the CX-5, which, by the way, they finally found it. I think it was in Poland.
Wow.
But that is, for us, is a major destination, and the CX-5 is one of the top ones.
And that's actually going to be a big motivator, is the value of the car versus the complexity to steal it. That's the reason you can walk up to a Hyundai and say, hey, open up and start, and you got it.
Yeah, but nobody wants a Hyundai.
Why do we need to put security in this? Who's going to steal it?
Yeah, I mean, it's like nobody wants, a Twingo.
Well, over here, I can't remember where it was, somewhere stateside, obviously, but on Reddit, someone said, hey, can you identify this car? We think it was just involved in a home invasion. And it was a PT Cruiser. Who the heck steals a PT Cruiser to perform a home invasion?
Well, that's the state of that your life has gotten into.
Well,
top
and
candidate for the Darwin Awards?
Yeah, right.
Well, and think about it from the other direction. As funny as the idea is, think about it from the other direction. They probably didn't say, hey, I'm going to go find me a PT Cruiser. They probably said, got to go find me an easy car to nab. And that probably was the first one that came up.
Yeah, I'm quite
across
sure.
their path,
I'm being a little bit facetious, but yes.
Crime is generally opportunistic.
Yeah, crime is generally opportunistic. That is true. So what do we do? I hadn't finished the article yet, Ben. Is there a fix coming? How do we protect our cars if this is the case? Because I always used to tell people to keep their fobs in a metal box, but now if we don't have that problem, how do we? Yeah.
Well, this is so new that the authors didn't know yet what it's going to lead to, and I would say still keep the fobs in a box, because those cars are still what we're driving now, and just because one type of theft and crime is the cutting edge doesn't mean the others go away.
That is very true. That is totally true.
Yeah.
So keep your fobs in a box. Yep. Ben, not Ben. Tim has a large T showing.
Yes. Is this the point in the show where we give the trivia answer? Ask trivia questions?
I was thinking that.
I completely missed the asking of the question in the beginning, but yes, let's wrap the episode with a question and an answer, Tim.
Okay. All right. So speaking of the future, what stands standard equipment on almost every new car sold in North America since the 1970s may no longer be available in nearly all future electric vehicles. So our choices are A, AM radio reception, B, glass rearview mirrors, C, a heater for interior air, or D, all of the above. Again, that was AM radio reception, a glass rearview mirror, or heater for interior air, as opposed to heated seats.
Huh. You go ahead and take it, Tim. Drive us around the table.
Okay, Dave, what's your guess?
AM radio and glass rearview mirror make a lot of sense to me. The heater, I'm less sold on, but I'm going to go with all of the above.
Okay. All right, Misty?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to go with all the above, although I'm like, I have heated seats and a, heater for a reason, because I'm a cool person. But yeah, I see that all of those as being either replaceable with more technology or very power draining.
Right. Okay. Mickey?
I hear the logic for all of the above, but I am going to pick the glass rear view mirror thing because I think that there's still going to be a space for AM radio dials for anyone who wants to tune in AM talk radio for any reason. Heating is still heating and it can be kind of useful. I saw that, Dave. Dave does not like AM talk radio. And yet with electric cars being what they are, putting a camera in the rear of the car seems like it's going to be a ubiquitous thing, and that would do away with the glass rear view mirror. So I'm going to stick with glass rear view mirror.
Okay. And Ben?
Yeah, I think I'm with Mickey on this one. I mean, I can see where they would want to push it in the all the above direction, but for, the reasons he stated, plus the fact that, there is only so much coldness that a heated seat can overcome. Your fingers are still going to be numb if it's, Minnesota in the wintertime.
Well, they just add the heated steering wheel in like the Mazda 6 has.
Right.
Yeah,
okay.
That doesn't help as much as they say it does.
Solution. It's
I loved it.
Dave, what was that, Dave?
Ow, 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 ow.
Superheated steering wheel action. Right. Yes.
Okay, so
what we got, Tim?
Yeah. So just to kind of go through these, what it's not is glass review mirrors. Those there's no necessary reason to lose those.
Okay.
Heater for interior air. There are some electric vehicles. I believe the Nissan Leaf doesn't have the air heated. It just has heated seats and steering wheel, which leaves us with AM radio reception. And it's for a technical reason. It's because of electromagnetic noise from the electric motors interfering with the AM radio signals.
Oh, I should have known that.
That's cool.
Uh-huh.
I mean, that's kind of weird.
Interesting.
That's kind of cool. And
Dave's
there's
like,
a whole.
Let's contribute to the downfall of AM talk radio.
Right.
I'm right there with you, dude. Because I'm like, there's a whole other rant that I could go on into why this is a good idea.
It's item 6 on the gay agenda right after brunch.
Mimosas not included.
You know what else is? You know what else is largely still on AM though? Is
baseball,
driver hazard warning information stuff. Well,
right,
that too. But yeah, if you ever see those roadside signs that say driver information, it's usually like 1690 AM or something like that.
Over here in Futureland, ours are all on the FM stations. I mean, we still have them.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. Because, come on, Mickey, it is Futureland. It's like 10 till 7 in the afternoon here. And it's, you just have started the downhill slide into night over on your side.
It's true.
Yeah. And ours, they also have like regional ones as well.
Thanks to you, Misty. I start drinking at 9 o'clock in the morning.
Right.
Hey, it's 5 p.m. somewhere, man.
You make it sound like that's a bad thing.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be 5 p.m. somewhere. If you want a drink, have a drink.
Have a drink, exactly.
I just move my desk to Australia frequently. I'm like, this is now our Australian division of whatever company I'm working for.
Thank you, Tim. That was excellent trivia question. Thanks to all of us for being at the table today. Thank you to our listeners for joining us for this rambling episode of The Thing About Cars. We hope you will join us next week. We're working on some interesting guests. I hope to be able to confirm for you soon. In the meantime, everybody stay safe out there. We'll see you with another episode in roughly a week. Take care, everybody.
Ciao.
See ya.
Ciao, ciao.
Thank you for listening. This has been The Thing About Cars. We'll see you on the road.